Do you have an all-star HR team? You may feel your team is already performing at a high level, but let's take a closer look. Would your company's top leaders and employees agree that your HR team are operating at a high level? Are team members able to influence top executives on difficult topics? Are team members' business and strategy focused on the challenges the organization is facing? Does the executive team trust your direct reports as advisors on human capital issues? If you can answer yes to these questions, you have built an outstanding team. If you feel there is room for improvement, Strategy Focused Group can create a custom development program to elevate the quality of your HR team. We use HCI certification programs as well as non-certified HRBP MBA Masterclass to give your team a laser focus on the business and strategy. Please email us at info@strategyfocusedgroup.com.
Good morning, good evening, depending upon what part of the world you're in. If it's Friday, you know it's the CEO series where we bring together global leaders, entrepreneurs, innovators, disruptors, educators, interesting people. Today, our guest is Terese Brown, Jamaican-born, New York-bred designer. She is an alumna of the workshop at Macy's, as well as the alumna of the Philadelphia Fashion Incubator at Macy's. Holds a dual degree in economics and business and studio art from Lafayette College, and fashion design degree from F.I.T. And she was an intern at Martha Stewart. So Martha, if you're listening, she's here. These experiences serves as a catalyst for her namesake label and lifestyle brand, Terese Sydonna, in 2011. Welcome. So happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Ron. It's so good to see you, to reconnect. I can't believe how long it's been.
It's been a long time, but I've followed your career. I've saw the big moves. I've saw the press releases. I've been following you for a long time, and it's an honor for me knowing you when you were in college to where you are today. So let's talk about that. From an intern at Martha Stewart, early 2000s someplace, to fashion designer. That's quite a journey. Give us the highlights of that journey.
Wow. Now you're really like showing my age. First of all, I can't believe it's been like 16 years.
Yes.
That's the first part. Like, wow, I've really known you that long. The second part, to answer your question, is that I think I've always wanted to be a fashion designer. And it didn't just start when I was at Lafayette or at Martha Stewart. It has been within me since I was like 7 years old. And I think the experience I had at Martha Stewart was amazing. Like meeting you, working with Carolyn, Meeker, and the rest of the team truly empowered me. And I felt like I had ownership over my projects.
Okay.
But at the same time, I had always had this lifelong dream to be a fashion designer.
Okay.
And it was just a matter of time before I made my way to that side. And so when you ask about the journey, to summarize in 30 seconds, wild is a word that comes to mind.
Okay.
And it's been one of resilience, sacrifice, a recession, surviving that, going back to F.I.T. to get my design degree, then working in the industry as a designer, designing Terese Sydonna at night, and then leaving my full-time job to pursue Terese Sydonna full-time, not knowing where my next check was coming from.
Yeah.
To now being an alumna of Macy's, the workshop at Macy's, of the Philadelphia Fashion Incubator, and to be in talks with big retail stores. It's like a dream come true.
I can only imagine, because you've been involved, and this process that you're talking about, you just don't sign up for that. You were selected, correct?
Absolutely. Hard work.
Competition.
I think it was 7,000 applicants, and
wow.
25 of us were chosen for the workshop at Macy's.
Okay.
And it's like high caliber of applicants. So we're business owners just trying to take our business to the next level and figure out how to do business with big department stores.
So was it from the design perspective of they gave you more of a business background?
I felt like this was like my 5th MBA.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
intense
Yeah.
is the word.
Yeah.
It's truly an MBA program where it challenges you to become more familiar with your business. If you're not, know your numbers, figure out where you want to position yourself, where you see yourself in the
Mm,
next year, 2, 5 years down the line. What is your story? What resonates with your customer? Who is your
okay.
customer? And
Okay.
where's the white space?
Mm.
Yeah.
Causes you to reflect.
A lot of that happened,
Yeah.
and then there was a pitch competition
Mm-hmm.
where it was 3 rounds where you presented your collection in front of buyers, DMMs, VPs, CFOs, and the winner won some money, and I was happy, excited to be the winner of the manufacturing grant.
Oh, you won.
So not the large prize, I won one of them.
Okay,
Yeah,
but you won.
I did. I won.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You won. So was that able to propel you to maybe an order or connections, or what was it? What was it about after you left that competition?
The program is all about connections,
Okay.
first and foremost. It is your way in. Essentially, they're like, if you really want it, this is how you do it. Here's the roadmap. Come on into the community, make the most of it. And it's truly what you make of it. So I'll say that. All about connections. Nothing is promised.
Yeah.
It's all about you building relationships and then seeing what happens next.
Mm.
And so if you know me, I'm that kind of person where it's like I'm gonna follow up. I'm gonna tell you more about my story, my business, what I'm trying to do, and see ways we can collaborate.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I know. How
Mhm.
do you stay motivated during that period? I'm sure there was a lot of doubts and stress, and I know the
I mean,
deal. So this is what I always tell people. Yeah, I want to be an entrepreneur. I said, you don't even know. You don't even begin to know what it's going to take.
right. I get that question so much, and I can laugh at it now because I have somewhat of a strategy, but it is painful when you first go through it.
It is.
Being an entrepreneur is the toughest job I've ever had. And if you have a 9 to 5 now and you think that's hard, it's nothing compared
Yeah,
to
yeah,
entrepreneurship.
yeah,
And good thing for me, my foundation from my family has been one of hard work, resilience, and just figuring it out and finding a way when there's no way. And I've used that motto from the very beginning. I knew it would require so much. It would be
yeah,
so
yeah.
so much sacrifice and dreaming big. And in times like that, I stay motivated by my faith.
Mm.
I
Okay.
stay motivated by my family, my community. Um, I have a community of entrepreneurs
Okay.
who share similar experiences to me. It
Yeah,
is so important to have your tribe.
yeah.
I don't think I would have made it if I didn't have
I
like
know.
these different subsets of tribes. Because to be honest, as an entrepreneur, I think about giving up like at least once a day. And
Oh,
if you don't, something is wrong with you. Like
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know anyone who's like happy every day and is like, oh yeah, this is amazing.
yeah.
There are some really
You
tough
know,
days.
and having those days and just getting out of bed,
Right.
just getting out of bed is a win. You know what I mean?
Right. And you have to celebrate the wins, big and small.
Yeah, yeah, I know. But at least you had the foundation of family, faith, and all those kinds of things. So that kind of was the connecting piece and kind of pull you forward. So what would you say was your big break that you'd be like, oh gosh, I got my big break? Was it the competition of being selected of 7,000 and I'm one?
Mhm.
What was the big break?
I think my big break came a little earlier. So to give you guys a little backstory, I was in stores years ago and I had a partnership that didn't work out. And I took a 2-year hiatus and relaunched in 2020 on my own. A
Okay.
lot of people didn't know that behind the scenes. I think in business, you just have to keep going
Yeah.
until that little voice tells you you can't, or, it just is not working anymore. And I always had the dream that I wanted this business to be viable and come to fruition. And so when I relaunched, I had the idea that I would remain e-commerce driven and focus on that. But prior to that, in 2016, I had my very first show at New York Fashion Week.
Oh,
And I just remember standing there at the show, walking down that runway, and seeing my family, celebs, and all those people in the audience. And it was like an out of body experience.
That's what I was going to go there. Like, am I really here?
Yes. Like your background, it was like it truly felt like an outer body experience, like this moment that I had dreamed about for so long.
Yeah.
And to see my name there, and then to see the press, and you know, my family, especially my mom, tell me how proud she was of me, what meant the world to me. And I think as an entrepreneur, you it's not that you need everyone's validation, but for the most important people in your life, when they do give you that validation or give you that credit and acknowledge your hard work, it's almost like $1 million.
Oh yeah.
And that's how it felt.
Yeah. Yeah. As you were leading into that story, I'm thinking, you're walking through here, all the big and you probably seen these on TV and all those.
Absolutely. I'm still a fangirl of some of them. Like, oh my gosh, that's awesome.
How did this happen? Because I was struggling 2 years ago. 3 years ago, now I'm here. Oh my goodness.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So what happened beyond that? I mean, so you showed your line, and you know, with the modeling and all of this kind of things. What was some pickups beyond that, and how did you take it to the next level from there?
Early on in my career, I was one of those overachievers who truly thought I could do it all. By myself. And you know, I'm like a lone wolf. I can do this. I got this. I know what I can do. I can do it. I'm an A student. But no one cares in business. No one cares about that. It's not about you. It's about team. And so I think for a while, what prevented my growth was that I didn't have a strong foundation and a strong team. I was wearing too many hats and not really thinking about the team long term and how I wanted the business to look. In spite of getting into all these stores and doing these amazing things, it was just like, how do I build a team now? And I think for me, when this partnership failed the first time, it was like an aha moment where I truly thought of the things that I could have prevented, or the things that I could have done better. I had a reflective time, like when I took that hiatus from designing a new line. And what I found was that with a strong foundation, with an amazing team that resonates with you, that shares your values and all of that, like you can be unstoppable. And when I relaunched my brand in 2020, I attended this conference with my business group, Traffic, Sales, and Profit. And Les Brown was a keynote speaker.
Okay.
And
I know Les,
right. And there is this saying that he always uses, and it just struck a chord with me, and I wrote it down, and I still say it to this day. And it was like, those who are hungry and resilient are unstoppable. And it's true. It's truly, it's amazing. It's true. It's real. And I took that with me, and that stayed with me. And in the past 2 years, I've been doing just that, building my team and truly thinking of what my business could be, scaled to $10 million, to $100 million. What would that look like? What would I need? And I think that's a difference going forward. I'm more authentic. I'm more upfront. I'm more vulnerable. I'm sharing more of the good, bad, and all the lessons learned.
I've already had the experiences now. I'm gonna speak my mind. I'm gonna do what I need to do.
Absolutely. I don't think we have time. I don't have time to be coy. I don't have time to just dream without action. And so that's what I'm doing.
So, you know, it's interesting that you mentioned team, because sometimes people want to become the entrepreneur. You know, everybody wants to do that, but you can't do that alone. I mean, you can struggle alone, but at a certain point, you've got to bring in expertise. You know, a day does is executive producer. There's no way I could ever put this show together if it wasn't for him. And you know, the scheduling and all the graphics, Marilyn does that. So you need a team to do that. So my team makes all of this look easy, and all I have to do is talk.
Yes.
By freeing that up for you, you can spend your time trying to design and do what you need to do beyond that. Would you say that's a pretty good assessment of it?
Absolutely. I think to some degree. So in my brand is a little more unique because it's my namesake. And so with that comes a bit more responsibility and a bit more visibility that you must give. And because it's my name and I'm my avatar, my community resonates more with seeing the items on me, seeing me front and center in the pieces, even though I'd love to be in the background and just have my team do it, make it look great.
Yeah.
But what I found is that it's a little bit of both for me.
Yeah.
It's like I absolutely have a team now that helps me with various things, but I still need to be present. And so that challenges me, it forces me to overcome like this shyness, this privacy that I have. You know?
Shy? You're shy? Nah, you're not shy.
A little bit in front of large groups. Absolutely. On social media, absolutely. I am. I'm better at one-on-ones, like how this is. It's more a conversation.
Okay.
But the minute it's like social media is like all this pressure and perfectionism that comes top of mind.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of both for me. And you still have to wear many hats, but not to the degree that it was before.
Okay. Okay. So would you say being an entrepreneur in the fashion business is different from, say, opening a store, doing something else, or because that's a competitive space? I mean, you talk about going to the fashion show, you've got 15 other designers walking down the runway with their lines and all those kinds of things.
It's oversaturated, it's competitive, but so is everything else. How many beauty brands are there? How many lingerie brands? How many clothing brands? And yet we still have new ones that come out and everyone falls in love with them. I think if we led with the idea that, it's too saturated, it's too many, then innovation would stop. And we would stay stagnant. We wouldn't change and evolve, and new ideas wouldn't become reality.
Yeah.
For me, what resonates with people, with my community, is my story. Okay. And my superpower is that it's me. It's my story. It's my experience. It's the way I share it. It's the way that I design. And I think that is what sets those who are truly fashion designers apart from someone who owns a store. There's a level of skill. There's a level of detail. There's an eye that goes into it. I'm designing original prints with my graphic artist.
Yeah.
We're creating original silhouettes. We're trying to think outside of the box, anticipating what people are looking for next.
Yeah.
And that takes more sweat equity, right? More time, more investment, I would say, than someone who is not designing.
So how does the design process work? You see a color, you see someone's walking down the street with something. Where does it come from? The sketching and silhouette you talked about. I mean,
all the above.
All the above. Okay.
I've always been that kid with such a wild imagination.
Okay.
And I see things differently, and those with a creative mind do.
Wow.
As you said, I could be walking down the street and I see a silhouette or a shape. I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be great. Or 3 a.m. when I jump up out of bed and like the idea finally comes to me of what the print will be about. Or I could be eating somewhere and I'm like, I want to do a collection that pays homage to my home, to the food that we love, the ackee, the colors in the national bird, the national symbols. What does that mean? Like, who doesn't resonate with home, with those stories that make you happy?
Yeah.
And that was the premise of the latest collection, Lucy.
Okay. Yeah, I saw an interview with the prodigy, 5 or 6 years old, was a piano prodigy. And in the interview, they asked him the question, he said, since the time I was a kid, I'm thinking you're already a kid. He said, I listen to noise in the street and I hear music. I hear notes. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. So the same thing you said, like you're food. I want to do a collection based on how would you even begin the process of doing? So the creative mind works different. So can we say that it does work different than what I do? I try to solve problems that you have as an organization. That's what I do. But so in some ways, creatively try and solve that. But that's pretty cool. Now, a friend of mine that I had on the show, Dorian Webb, she's a jewelry designer. In her background, she's an architect. But she always was twiddling around with making things. And she just decided, I don't want to do the corporate architect. I want to do this. And it just took off. Her first collection was bought by Neiman Marcus, I think it was. First time out of the chute, which is scary because if you
Right.
what do you do as an encore? You know,
Right. That's a tough act to follow.
tough act to follow. So, what about your first big order, or your first order? The brand of that. What was that? What did that feel like?
My first big order came from this shop in Philly. So
Okay.
I did the Philadelphia Fashion Incubator at Macy's Center City, and I lived in Philly for about 3 years. So a friend of mine had done the program their first season, told me about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna move there, and this is gonna be my way to stand out and to get into stores because
Oh
it was
wow.
just so
Okay.
hard in New York.
Yeah.
If you didn't have a big name or if you didn't come from a fashion house, when I started out, the way you got into the business was you either worked for a fashion house and eventually someone would back you and create your own line, or you had these amazing connections and was able to get your line into stores. It was very hard for a solo entrepreneur or an independent designer to get their brand, get the attention, garner the attention firstly, to
Okay.
then get the brand into stores. And so I definitely saw that as an opportunity with the Philadelphia Fashion Incubator as a way to get into stores. And so I did the program. Um, Similar, I was introduced to buyers, to stores. I perfected my pitch, my story. And this one store, Shop 65, I will never forget the day. Oh my goodness. So I saw that they had opened, like maybe I had a pop up shop on Walnut Street with some designers
Yeah, I know
on
that
the
area.
incubator. And they had recently opened their store and it was beautiful. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the store that I need to get in. And back then, like I was schlepping my collection, like in my car, on a bus, in a suitcase, wherever, showing up. Like, hi, I'm here. This is what I made. Here's a line sheet. Here's a lookbook. Do you want it? And some stores were interested. They're like, who is this girl? Like, what is this? And Shop 65, I walked in and I was like, hi, I'm with the incubator. We have this pop-up. Can you come by, check it out? The owner came, saw some stuff. I went back, I presented the collection, and within that week, she bought things. And I couldn't believe, like for a year, I was like doing this and schlepping and like
Yeah.
so down about it. Like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I can't afford a sales rep. They don't want to work with me. I don't have enough stores. How am I going to do this? And this woman, Linda, gave me a chance. And can I tell you, she bought the entire collection for years
Wow.
and showcased it in the windows on Walnut Street, which is the high street of fashion in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And like within a year of being in that program, I had launched in 12 stores. And you could walk by and see Terese Sydonna in the windows on Walnut.
Did you just ever go by there late at night just to look to see?
Yes, I did. I still have the photos. I still have those memories. Yes, I went and
Because that's what I would have done. You know what I mean? When nobody was there, I'm going to go by and take a photo of this.
yeah, I did. And and the thing is, back then we weren't so invested in social media as we are now.
Okay.
It was like I posted it once.
Yeah.
People in the community knew about it, but like when I look back on it, it's like, oh my gosh, wow, the audacity to dream big. Yeah.
But it worked.
Mm-hmm.
It worked. So you ups and downs, and you were going through. Was there a grounding piece that you always kind of hung on to give it a little more time? Because lots of times, when you're doing these kinds of things, you say, you know what, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
And nope, I'm gonna give it another week. I'm gonna give it another season or whatever it is. Did you go through that and you kept? Apparently you did, because you're here now. Yeah.
I did, and I still do. As I said, entrepreneurship is not a linear thing where you start out and then there's this huge growth. It's periods of ups and downs, peaks and valleys, and it's like a crazy curve.
Yeah.
And you just have to be resilient and innovative. And in 2020, the word was pivot. How do we do that? How do we recreate ourselves? And I think because I'm such a type A personality, I was almost like stuck in doing things one way. It's like, this is the way we're taught. You do the collection, you sell it wholesale, you show up to the stores, and then the stores love you and you get more stores. And now that is certainly one way to do it. But there's so many different ways. There's e-commerce, you know, there are pop-up shops. It's a combination. It's like a dance. And I think the challenge that keeps me on my toes is just figuring out that balance. What do I need to do for my business? What's next? And challenging myself to be more flexible and seeing this as an opportunity to stand out in some ways that I hadn't before.
Because the fashion business, a collection comes out, great collection, but I got to go back to the design studio. I'm thinking this because I got to do another collection for the next season. Such as other kind of entrepreneurs, I do the same thing every day, year in, year out. I don't have to come up with a new. That's got to be tough. That mindset. So that's got to be tough. So talk me through that.
Yeah. So, and this is why I said before, like, to be a fashion designer is just an incredible amount of work. It's a lot of sweat equity because you're using your thoughts, your ideas. You're constantly innovating, coming up with new styles, new prints, thinking ahead. So for me, I love that part. I love that part, the creative part where, you know, I'm like, it's like writer's block where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have any new ideas or nothing is coming. And then, you know, at 3 a.m., as I said, I jump up and I'm like, I have the idea. And then I'll like work all day long, get it out, sketch, drape, do the pattern, whatever I need to get it out and out there. But I think as a creative person, it's hard because it's a business, right? As much as we want to be creative, 90% of what I do is not creative. It's figuring out how to run the business, how to get the right team, onboarding people, offboarding people.
The minutiae.
Right, and get into the money. Because at the end of the day, why are we doing this? Yes, I'm doing this because I have something to say. I definitely want to empower women. I want women to show up their authentic selves, but I'm running a business. And how can I get there? How can I become profitable? And that's truly what I'm focused on now.
I read an article that you were quoted. You talk about empowering women to show their authentic selves. What does that mean?
Yeah, so I know that authentic is like the buzzword of late. For me, it didn't start now. It's been 11 years in the making. It's been 20 years in the making. Terese Sydonna, I started 11 years ago. When I was working on Wall Street, it was there. You know, when I was at Martha Stewart, it was there. And for me as a Black woman working on Wall Street and in corporate America and buying and merchandising, it was such a difficult time back then. I felt that there was constant pressure to maintain an image, to be a certain size, to show up a certain way, to dress how the other buyers did. And I'll never forget when I was at Lord & Taylor, I was the only Black assistant buyer on my floor, the skinniest, the tallest. And it always seemed like there was an issue with me. Something did not fit the status or didn't fit the image, or it was always that, like, you know.
I know.
Right? That resonates with you. And it was almost like that othering that happens a lot to Black people in corporate spaces in this country, in America. And I felt that. In my conversations, I realized that it wasn't just Black women feeling this. It was all the women in the company because we had to wear these uncomfortable dresses and heels to the meetings. Like wearing sneakers, we never did that. Like you wore it on the train and changed to your heels.
And you changed. Under your desk, you had a whole
right. We had those like flats and sneakers under the desk, but you would never show up like that. You would always be like structured power suits and dresses and again, maintaining this image. And in the conversations, I saw that what women were really seeking was like this safe haven, this space where it wasn't so severe. Like you could like let down your hair a bit. You could show more of your personality in the way you dressed or the way you showed up. And that absolutely resonated more than most with Black women and then all women that I spoke with. And so I wanted to change that. Like when I created my line, I had been searching for years while I was working in these corporate jobs. If I ever started my line, what would it be about? What is the problem I'm trying to solve? And that was like the number one thing
Okay.
And the courses that I took and the networking and my mentors, they challenged me to find. It's like, it's not about the clothes. It's not about, the pretty print. What is the story? What is the problem you're trying to solve? And I had to go back. And that was the moment. It was just like, I wanted to change that. Like, I absolutely wanted to be more of myself. And so do other women, even to this day. Women are facing an incredible amount of insecurity in the workplace and at home. And how do we change that, right? It's by empowering women through community.
Okay.
And through the clothing that we wear.
Okay. Your line, I've seen your lines, over the years. It's always colorful. Not sedated at all. It's always colorful, which, and I really like, when I look at the prints and all those kinds of things. So when you're thinking and you're in that mindset of design, you're thinking colors, and the colors are coming from a reference point and putting those together, matching those up.
Yes. So there is a science behind what we do as designers, but a lot of my work as a creative is tied to emotion. It's tied to connection. It's tied to what is happening in the world and what is the sense. What is the sense that I'm getting of the mood or the temperature of people? I design from a global point of view. My designs celebrate East and West. It's honoring those cultures that we grew up with, those traditions, paying homage to where we are from and our stories and rituals. So when I design, I think about my community and the women that buy from me. Who are they and where are they going?
Okay.
What events do they need to go to and what are the issues they're facing? A lot of them, 35 to 50, are moms. They're socialites, they're CEOs, they're directors. They're busy. So they value things that are low maintenance. So that is why I design with fabrications that are machine washable, wrinkle free, quick dry. And I think about color, right? We use color to stand out in the boardroom. We use color to get promotions. A lot of people don't realize that you are a brand as well.
Okay. I've always
right? When you show up, yes, your name and your resume speaks for itself, but how are you showing up? What are you wearing? What are you trying to say?
The vibes.
Right. And so I use clothing as a vehicle to empower these women so that they show up the way they want to, that they command attention, that people don't forget who they are.
Okay.
Their clothing is a conversation starter.
Okay. We got a few comments here from Lamia. Coach Yeva, she was on last week. Total support and feel what honorable speaker has just mentioned. There is a ton of non-creative part behind what is seen in the public eye. A lot of hard work, documentation. But kudos to your persistence and achievement.
Oh, thank you.
She's a tremendous young lady that I met years and years and years ago at a conference in Baku. And she was on the show last week. Now she works for the American Embassy in Baku, I think it is. Yeah. So thank you for tuning in.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, inspirational, in what you're talking about. So let's take a commercial break and we'll show you a video and then we'll come back.
At Strategy Focused Group, we not only upskill, we inspire, enable, educate, discuss, innovate, motivate, challenge, let us help you elevate your team. Email us at info@strategyfocusedgroup.com.
Welcome back. We were just talking about the florals and the colors, and all of a sudden the video comes in, and it's the same. It's the same. So that was cool the way that was put together. So I want to kind of talk through the business foundation. So you worked at Lehman Brothers. You worked for Goldman Sachs, corporate pants, the pantsuits and all those kinds of things, and you were able to take that. What learnings did you get from the corporate side that enable you to be successful in your business?
So I will say that even though I wasn't a fan of the gray and navy suits,
Yeah.
I did try to push the envelope by wearing baby pink. And I was a summer analyst at Goldman Sachs, and there was this guy on my team. I was in asset management for mutual funds. And a lot of people don't know that I originally started out in finance, that my degree from Lafayette, the first one is in economics and business with the finance track. So I tried the stint on Wall Street to see if it was really for me. Turned out it wasn't.
Yeah.
But one day I came to work, I was wearing a gray pinstripe suit and this baby pink shirt. And this guy who was on my team, when I walk in, he's like, whoa, that shirt is so bright. And
So shut up.
right? And at first it was 7:30. It was too early. That was the first thing. I'm not a morning person. And then you're saying this to me.
Yeah.
In that moment, I knew. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
This is really not it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm truly a colorful person.
Mm-hmm.
I like color. I'm not scared of it. I am not gray and navy.
Yeah.
And I will say that about knowing yourself and being true to who you are. But the amazing things that I learned from those experiences was how to be scrappy, how to know your numbers, own your business, and just not accepting excuses. Like, I truly learned the inner workings of a financial institution, how to be professional. And there was this woman there, Vicky Hayes, who was the director, and she was amazing. And I was like in awe of this woman every time she like floated by in these power suits, and like she just looked like a boss.
Had it going on, right?
Like a boss. And I was like, yes, that's what I want to be. And I think I was about 19. And when I had my review with her, she was like, I like how you dress. And I was like, really? Me? And she was like, my mentor told me years ago, never to dress for the station where you are in life. Dress for where you want to go. And again, another saying, right? I love quotes. And these things, when they're right, they stay with me. And I repeat them years and years to come. And that stayed with me as the most important lesson that Vicky taught me. Yeah. And it was that, like, being true to yourself. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. It's where you're going. Okay. And you have to show up for that person, because you never know. You never know who someone is going to turn out to be. You never know where they're going to end up. The same people you meet going up are the same people you meet going down. And so it was important. And that was a lesson of why I show up the way I do, and why I show up to meetings and events. And I'm usually overdressed for that reason, where it's like, I want to command attention. I want to be remembered. I want every experience you have with me to be a unique one, a conversation starter. And so I thank Vicky for that.
Yeah, that was pretty powerful. Because when you're young, you're impressionable. You're watching things and trying to, figure out how this is going to work for me. And that's an age that really people struggle with. But I applaud you. You had that North Star that you were working towards, and you did these things, but it was still kind of focused on trying to do that. But you knew that this was not a career.
Right. That's the only thing I knew, because I was still just like, let me try this. Let me just ask these questions. I'll just show up and figure it out.
I'll seem like I'm interested, but for 20 years or 30 years, there's no way. I know. But this is what I tell people. If you're not happy doing what you do, there's no need in putting yourself physically through that. Start trying to figure out a way. But I hear so many people talk about dreams and aspirations and things they want to do. And I see them 2 years later, 3 years later, it's still the same thing. I'm like, okay, so when is...
It takes action.
Yeah.
It takes action.
Actions.
Dreams without action are just dreams.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Jimmy Choo, Marc Jacobs, Lord and Taylor. Because I saw a documentary on Jimmy Choo. That's the shoe person, right? That's the
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes.
So you worked there for a while, Marc Jacobs, who's with Louis Vuitton now, isn't he the creative director for?
Yes. So when I was in buying merchandising, I did that for a number of years and the recession came. One day we went to work and half of us were fired in
Yeah.
2009, as
Corporate.
would happen, right, with most companies, or it either went belly up or you were fired and laid off. And after that, I then pivoted to sales. So I worked in sales for those companies because I truly wanted to understand how the business worked.
Yeah.
I had the idea in my mind, I want to be a fashion designer, but how does this really work? Like, what does it look like? What are the departments? What do I need to know? And so while I was making my way back to design, I thought it would be excellent. I'm like, okay, I did the finance, buying and merchandising. I had my mentors who were like, well, you have to get all the experience you can and do it on their dime. And then so when it's time for you to start your company, you'll be more informed. And so I saw working in sales as that opportunity is like the next step. Like, okay, I've done these things. What's the next department that I need to learn and understand the business? And it was working for those brands. And I learned truly how wholesale worked as well from an independent designer's perspective, from a small business perspective. And before that, I had the corporate experience.
Wow. I was thinking about all the learnings that you've had, and you talked about your parents, you talked about your faith, trying to stay steady and keep thinking through that. What would you say is your most important influence that shaped you as to what you are today? I mean, so we've talked about all of these things moving forward. If you had to prioritize them, what would you say was the grounding force that on those days I can anchor that and I can get to the next step?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Um, I think it always goes back to my origins.
Okay.
I am an immigrant. I moved to this country when I was 7 years old from Jamaica with my family. And my parents had me at 18 and 19 years old.
Oh,
And they weren't able to go to college because they had me, but they brought me here to give me a better life than they had. And so recognizing that from the very beginning, like it's almost like you come here with a mission.
okay.
And the assignment was understood.
Yeah.
Like we're here, you must do well. And my mom's biggest saying was, you need a big job. You need to do this.
Okay.
Go get a big job.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at a job in corporate. No.
No, not a big job.
Big job. Okay.
Big job. And I wanted that for myself too. Like it wasn't just my family telling me to achieve these things. It's almost as if it's that thing inside of you, that innate purpose that when you find it, it's like you recognize it, you see it, you feel it, it is a part of your being. And that's how like these 5 year olds are able to be prodigies and these
Yeah.
creative people are able to excel because they have found their purpose, their calling in life.
Mm.
I could not I could not be who I am today without that strong foundation of
Okay.
hard work, resilience from my family
Yeah.
that they instilled in me from a young age. I could not come home with anything less than an A. That
Oh,
was not acceptable
okay.
in my house. You had to be the best. You had to try to do better.
Yeah.
And so I adopt that same philosophy in my work where I show up as much as I can. I am not perfect. I show up as much as I can. I do good work. I demand excellence as well.
Okay. Okay.
I don't like mediocrity. And I think that has propelled me forward and that has kept me in this business for so many years because if I didn't have that discipline, I don't think I would have made it through all the rough times.
Those were the guardrails. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Hey, can you put her design website on the bottom again? If you get a chance before we close out. There we go. Yeah. So for the folks that's listening in, this is where you could see her collection. So check it out and see what you could purchase and to move this young lady along. So in closing, What is, if you had to think one more time of the most important leadership lesson that you've had, what would that be?
Lead with compassion.
Okay.
I think as a perfectionist, it gets really hard, like taking a step back, and being a designer requires a level of perfectionism where you have the
Yeah.
eye, this has to be perfect. These lines need to match up.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people fall short, because then they take that into their personal lives and in how they work with their employees
Yeah.
and then the company. I've always recognized that people are what make the experience. And when I think back to my experiences with you at Martha Stewart, with the other corporate experiences that were amazing, and those people that I still keep in touch with, it was that relationships.
Yeah.
It was leading with empathy and compassion. And so I kind of watched you and watch all those mentors do the same thing. And I saw that it worked, and it just feels good. Like, so I adopt the same thing in my business and how I deal with people, because I want every experience with me to be positive as much as I can. Sometimes, obviously, you can't control that.
Yeah.
But I think of that, like, what is the experience of me and how would I want to feel? And so as much as I can, I lead with that, because it's so important. It's like people, they may forget what you say, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Wow. That's pretty cool. As young as you are, to have that deep thought, that deep level of thought, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I sent Martha a note, as I said, that you were going to be on today. So I hope she gets a chance to check it out
Okay.
and see how that experience propelled you to where you are today. So thank you so much for taking time for us today. And I really appreciate having you on, because I followed your career since the time we first met. We've talked from time to time. I think the last time we talked, we did a Zoom call, and you were making some changes around that time.
Yeah.
But it pleases me, and I'm proud to see what you have become over all the years. And you said it was 16 years ago?
What
Approximately.
year is this? Yes.
Yeah, approximately. That was
2006.
that
Oh
was
my gosh.
that was a few years ago. But anyway, thank you so much for taking time for us today. And I hope the people that are listening in will take a look at her website and send some business her way. And we all support each other. So just hold on for a minute as we close out.
Thank you, Ron, for having me.